190.
Hashtag VersTEAv family, welcome. I'm Aaron Mack. It's week 190. Welcome to hashtag VersTEAv and per norm for the par for the course, per norm for the par for the course. Y'all get it. I'm a little mixed up right now, but I we're making it happen. Anyway, I will pass it on to Basic Complexity to take it away with our songs. I have no idea which one he's going to start with today, but Basic Complexity, take it away. Surprise me, my friend.
All right, hey everybody. And you might have noticed, like what I do, I try to alternate each week. So this week, I'm starting with well, to me, really new school song. And what also, really quick before I even go into that, just want to let it be known, making this will be the last week I'll do holiday songs for right now anyway. Um, so just I guess you even call it make a song for Christmas, post Christmas holiday song. So the really new school holiday song I have this week is actually called Mary Did You Know? And that's by the Braxtons. The song was from their 2015 Braxton Family Christmas album. It was a single, and I definitely liked it because all five Braxton sisters sung on the song. They each had at least part of a verse. So yes, that would be my fairly new school holiday song.
And let me ask you this about that. Being a
Uh-huh.
same gender loving man, of course, there was time that I tried to make it a point to watch the real when I could, like online or whatever. Isn't that like back when Tamar was on the real? Didn't they sing that on the real?
Yes.
Yes, and I knew you would know. All right, friend. Yes, friend. Okay,
It's on
absolutely.
YouTube.
Huh?
It's on YouTube.
Yeah, but well, of course, but we both watched it. Is the point? We both watched it. So
Yeah.
yes, yeah. They sing their butts off. Period. End of
Yes.
talk. Yes. End of statement. Um.
All
So
five of them.
absolutely. My new song, and I was just talking with Basic Complexity about this earlier about in the show. Well, earlier before we recorded, how I know people can announce retirement to be like, oh, I'm about to retire, and then not retire. A lot of people do that. I know Anita Baker announced a potential retirement some time ago. And I was like, oh, crap. Thinking about her song, there was this song that she released in 2012. And that's actually like the latest new album that she's released, new album. And I was like, oh, crap. If I don't say this week, it will have to go into our old music because next year 2012 will be 11 years ago. Anyway, my 2012 single is the fantastic remake of Lately by Anita Baker. Came out 2012. And I remember this in my first apartment. Now, this right before that Anita Baker released it, I remember I used to love singing the original version by Tyrese because y'all, I sing a little bit. I do. I used to sing more than I do now, but I remember one time I was in my apartment singing at the top of my lungs because I love belting at the top of my lungs. And one time, my next door neighbor, because there was just two of us who lived on the upstairs floor, my next door neighbor was like, "Please stop," you know. And it's like, well, he wasn't anyway. Just because I was getting very loud, very loud. Anyway, Basic Complexity. What's the older song, my friend? Memories, right?
Right. Once again, like I said, it's a holiday song, and my older song actually, and catch this from the Jackson 5, and it's called I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus. And that song was from their 1970 Christmas album, simply titled Christmas Album. I'll leave that alone. Um, and the lyrics to the song were kind of funny because Michael, who was a kid at the time, um, was telling the story about how he thought his mom was cheating on his dad by kissing Santa.
Has that been remade since? Like, I can't help but feel as though that story is like a classic story of I saw mommy kissing Santa Claus. But were they like the first to do that story? And has anyone done it since, or are people just
I'm
replaying the song?
really, I'm not sure. I know the song has been done multiple times, but I'm not sure who was the first.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, that's cool. 1970 is it's up there. It's up there, you know.
Yeah.
And that Michael Jackson was so young, it
Yes.
would be appropriate for a Michael Jackson to sing that song. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not a Michael Jackson like there are more Michael Jacksons. There's only one, just like there's only one Whitney, but don't even get me started. Anyway, all right. Are we ready for my older song?
Yeah.
My older song comes from Japanese released singer who's actually, I think she's from like Boston, Massachusetts. But you know how sometimes like American singers will release their music strictly overseas because the understanding is like the market is better. Like as early 80s babies, for us, it was NSYNC. And when NSYNC released their music and they started off in Germany and then they actually came back to America. But anyway, my song is my jam called Shattered by Tynesha Kelly. And I love that song. I love that jam from her album, The Chronicles of TK in 2009. And yes, she is a belter and a runner, and she has dope melodies on that whole album. And technically, I found out about that album in 2015, the second time that I lived in Laurel, and I was like, "Oh, this can be one of my new songs." And then I looked up, and I was like, "Oh, wait a minute, that's a 2009 album." So it has to come back on my old songs, but it's a great album. She's great and loves her. Anyway, oh, you know what we're gonna do, Basic Complexity?
But
We have to. It's that time. I almost said it. Uh-huh. So I won't word it that way, but it's the point in the month that we say give a special thank you shout out to all of the countries that check out hashtag VersTEAv around the globe. And those are da, 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 da. First, well, no, in no particular order, just great, great, gracious thanks to everyone. Vietnam, thank you. Poland, thank you. Ireland, thank you. Haiti, thank you. New Zealand, thank you. Belgium, thank you. Germany, thank you. Singapore, thank you. And the United States, thank you. We thank you all very much. And thank you for sticking with hashtag VersTEAv through it all. Through it all, I've learned. Anyway, but yes, thank you for sticking with hashtag VersTEAv through it all. We greatly appreciate it. Keep rocking with us. We'll keep rocking with you. All right. And now, are we ready to get the show on the road, Basic Complexity?
let's go.
All right. And our first topic is hashtag TheFlux at dhalgrenhog87 at Zoe Stoller. Hashtag VersTEAv190 On-screen text, refusing compulsory sexuality, a black asexual lens on our sex-obsessed culture, by Sharonda J. Brown. A healing journal for black men. Prompts to help you reflect, grow, and live with pride. By Danny Angelo Fluker Jr.
This is the TheFlux flag. TheFlux is an identity on the asexual spectrum that describes someone whose sexuality fluctuates. They sometimes feel more asexual, sometimes feel more allosexual, aka experiencing normal sexual attraction. The top red stripe represents being allosexual, bottom purple stripe represents being asexual, and the gradient in between represents how TheFlux people move through the spectrum of asexuality to allosexuality.
All right. And my initial response to this is our friend posted this, and I found those book titles that he said he's revisiting. Yes, those are very interesting book titles. And I had to ask, I was like, are you asexual? And he was like, well, technically, I'm ace-flux. And he sent me that other video, and I'm like, ace-flux, what's ace-flux? And that was the explanation. And then I thought about it, and that video, I'm like, am I ace-flux? Well, my connection, I do talk about my thought days a lot, my thought sexual exploration days a lot. And the truth is, as I always say or often say, I was really just looking for love in all the wrong bedrooms, like, and that's how, because I was equating sex and love or physical interaction and love. And like, well, that's how you get a guy to love you, by having sex with him or doing physical things to him, right? And that's kind of whatever. And then I hit my prude days from age 23 to 32, in which I was not doing sex with anybody, nobody, no boyfriends. It's not that I didn't have boyfriends, it's that I wasn't having sex with them. And some could say, like, that's part of the reason that none of my romantic relationships crossed the 1 year mark, but it is what it is. It is what it is. I stayed true to myself. I stayed true to myself. Anyway, da, 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 da. Yeah, and ironically, yeah, because I was like, no sex until marriage or something like marriage. Now, bear in mind, I'm 39, and if we're talking age 23 to 32, put that in a time frame of reality for what in the world that meant in terms of same gender loving relationships. And ironically, I believed that gay people should have the right to get married. Nevertheless, I was not sure that I wanted gay marriage for myself. But, and that, yes, I was confused. I was confused. And I was like, I will not have sex with you until we get gay married. But I don't know if I want gay marriage. So it's like, I was ridiculous. I was very ridiculous. Anyway, now I'm open to sex in controlled environment with like a partner or whatever, but I don't need it. And I question if my low sex drive is a sign of me being ace flux, or me being sex lazy, or the fact that I'm 39 years old, or all three. I don't know, because I recently talked with I'll say that, basic complexity.
All right. After hearing this, my stance is simply to do you. Um, I fully understand that everyone is somewhere on the sexuality spectrum. Um, and from what I've learned, realistically, we're all close to the middle, but we probably go one way or the other. Um, oh yeah, and whether they choose to admit it or not, um, we all somewhere around the middle. I fully accept that I personally do not have any life experience that relates to this, but my stance has always been to simply do your thing.
Oh, right. And I will take a 1 minute and finish what I was saying. I, as far as my being like, well, maybe it's because I'm 39 years old, I'm so old. Like, truth be told, like, I somewhat recently talked to a 39-year-old with a quite high sex drive who was like wanting to bang me out of the park, or whatever. And sometimes I question if my relatively lower sex drive was not necessarily just related to those three things, perhaps a combination of those three things, or maybe it's related to the fact that after my thought day exercises, I became a prude for quite some time. And because of that, that just sort of lowered my love ambition. Well, not my love ambition. I just wanted to say ambition and then think about that song. But anyway, that's a song by Jason Weaver. But yeah, is it good? I don't know. But it is what it is. It is where it is. My one sentence. I like Ace Flux, and I might be that, but I might be confusing myself as I continue to discover myself, as I'm on the edge of my 30s. Basic complexity, take it away. Well, your 1 minute or your sentence. And
All right. My overall sense is for everyone to, in keyword legally, do them. Personally, I really don't care.
I got you. I got you. And that's how people should be. That's how everybody should be.
Should be.
Not your life. Anyway. Are you ready for the next topic? Before I get myself on my soapbox.
Alright, yeah.
Hashtag TheTwitts at Morning Brew. Hashtag VersTEAv190
Babe, you okay?
Oh, I just had the craziest dream that I bought Twitter.
Really?
I bought it at some completely overvalued price.
$12?
Like $44 billion.
Jesus.
And then I tried to get out of the deal, failed, laid off half the staff, reinstated Kanye, reinstated Trump, got rid of Kanye, tried to auction off stuff from our headquarters.
Oh, okay, that's enough. I think I get
Lost my title as the world's richest person, revamped Twitter blue.
Twitter what?
Exactly. Then I got doxxed, banned a bunch of journalists who reported on it, promoted a tweet thread about Hunter Biden, changed the color of the like button, went to the World Cup with Jared Kushner, then asked people to vote if I should step down as CEO.
Wow, that all sounds horrible and unnecessary.
Yeah.
Well, the important thing is that it's all over now.
Yeah, seriously.
Because they voted yes.
Oh, thank God.
I'm pregnant.
No.
All right. I had to get myself together. All right. Personally, I find it all very amusing. However, I have been drifting away from Twitter for years. I really no longer even care about Twitter that much. And Elon Musk, in my opinion, just put that final nail in the coffin by charging $8 for verification check. Like, to me anyway, it just kind of seems pointless if all you gotta do to be verified is pay $8. That, like, legal, legitimate celebrities, I expect to have a blue check mark. But now knowing that anybody could get one, it just sorry when I read this right. All right. I don't have a life experience that relates to this, and it may be just me, but overall, does now not make Twitter sound like cheap. Oh, I'm just saying, like $8 for a good time. Really, that's questionable. And then at that point, I no longer believe anyone is legitimate because they have a blue check mark. Like, anybody could get a blue check mark. You got $8, go for it. And that's all I have.
You know, $8 a month. It's like you. That's an interesting price point because it's like
Yeah.
it's easy enough to get in most cases. Like it. I get why it was priced that way. It's something that people can comfortably afford, but it's like it kind. I I would just be recycling everything that you just said. So suffice to say,
Yeah.
I agree when it comes to the check mark thing. My initial reaction to the video is Morning Brew is hilarious per norm, and that's no exception, especially when and I felt badly for this, but especially when he was like, I bought Twitter for way too much money. And the computer was like, what, $12? And it's like, oh, okay. And he's like, no, like 44 billion. And I get it though, because Twitter and different people feel differently about Twitter. And I get that. I do like Twitter, and it's an early social media start. It was one of the first big ones, right? So I give them credit for that. And it was one of the first, like, make your point quickly platforms, you know? And I didn't initially like that because I was like, oh, but I want to be able to go on and on and on and on my tweets and on my posts and things in my mind that I share. And I don't want to have a limit. But I think that was a wise move for Twitter because that's where things have gone. That people like just short, people don't really like to read that much. Fact, sad, sad facts. Anyway, it takes me back to my 20s. And yeah, years ago, my singing group, formerly known as Intake, then known as Accent 4, then known as Intake again, long story, we went on a road trip to audition in the Apollo as solo artist. Again, long story. And while in line, a dude found out that we also sang as a group, and he told us that we should name ourselves Twitter. That should be our singing group name, Twitter. And he's like, yeah, you know, it's hip and new, and it's what's wild and everything nowadays, and that would be good and cool. And I like creatives, and I dig that he said that and offered that as a suggestion. We did not get it at that time at all. We were like, really? But I get it now. It makes sense. It brings complexity. What's your one sentence preceded by your 1 minute if you have anything else to say?
um, wow. And I realized I did.
You can just read your, if you already read it, you can read it again. That's fine.
Well, I'll just quickly state the final part of what I said, and then my, I guess, reaction after that. I lost every bit of respect I had for Twitter at that moment of $8. Didn't mean much to me. And yeah, I don't have life experience as it relates to this. Maybe it's just me, but overall, does now not make Twitter sound like a cheap hoe. And just being realistic. All right. Yeah, for $8 for a good time temporarily. Yeah. That's all I have.
All right. And for me, I'll finish up and then my one sentence. I actually was done. I just wanted to make sure. I get it now why he was saying we should call ourselves Twitter. That actually would have been cool, perhaps to change the spelling a little bit so you wouldn't have copyright infringements. I think we possibly still would have, but all in all, I think it was a cool idea. Anyway, we didn't go with it because keeping a group together takes a lot of work. And I know that on many levels now. Anyway, I will say my one sentence is me and Twitter. I hope they can rebound. Hashtag VersTEAv190 uses it more now. All right, are we ready for the next topic? Let's keep it moving.
Yeah.
Hashtag attracted at Saint Nick Clips. Hashtag VersTEAv190
So I think it's a little bit of confusion on this topic because I keep seeing it on TikTok and Instagram about what do you call a man that's attracted to trans women? And the proper term for those guys is trans attracted. Now, I ain't trans, so I'm not obligated to speak on this subject, but I'm just spreading a little bit of information that was given to me by a trans woman. You know, she educated me, so I'm gonna do my best to educate y'all. I think the confusion is when you think of the LGBT spectrum and you think of those types of guys, you like, well, what letter is he? You know, what letter is he? Because he's definitely on the spectrum, but which letter is he underneath? You know, he's in that plus section. You know, that new section that they did add it on. They did add it on to the conglomerate. But the proper term is trans attractive. So stop putting them niggas in my section. They not gay. I get why you would consider them gay, but they are not gay. Because those same niggas would not even fuck with a nigga like me. Because I have a mustache. I live my life as a man, you know, and I'm attracted to men. That is the definition of a gay man. So a man that likes femininity and womanness and womanhood, no matter what parts are down below, he's not gay. It's like it's beyond genitalia. You know what I'm saying? And I know a lot of y'all not going to agree, but that's what you call those types of men. Period. I'm going to use an example. Trans men. I'm attracted to trans men. So that means they were born and assigned at birth the sex of a woman, but somewhere along the line they realized that they wanted to live their life as a man. So if I am attracted to men as a gay male, I'm attracted to men and masculinity. If I see a trans man who is exuding, bitch, we getting all them good words in this motherfucker tonight, exuding masculinity. If I see him walking down the street, I'm gonna be like, damn, who the fuck is that? You know, I'm not even really thinking about what's in his pants. You know, he probably do got a coochie. You know, we're gonna figure that out later. But on the outside, I see a man, so I'm attracted to him because of that. Now, when it gets down in the bedroom, you know, and when you want to get into the nitty gritty of the genitalia, I may have to penetrate that young man, you know. I am going to penetrate that young man. I'm going to just keep it a buck with y'all. So, if you want to base everything off of the actual sexual interaction and say, well, yeah, it's straight sex, you know, because there's a dick and pussy involved. I'm not doing this shit with y'all this morning. I'm not.
All right. So, if trans attraction is to a woman who is pre-op, i.e., well, pre-bottom surgery, I would feel more comfortable with them being classified in the plus category. But if the woman is post-op and did the top and bottom surgery, I don't feel that is different from a standard heterosexual relationship, in my opinion. You know, but that's just me. And my connection, I remember speaking with a trans woman friend of mine who she was pre-op for the bottom surgery, but she did have the top surgery. And she did say that she classified herself as heterosexual. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. You know, different people classify as different things, and that's cool. And I didn't disagree. And for me too, I can also be attracted to trans men. Um, uh, and my particular connection story. One time while I was uh, browsing through the halls of Jacked. As I was browsing through Jacked, I came across a dude who was a gorgeous thick dark chocolate. And people who know me know that I always talk about loving gorgeous thick dark chocolate. He was no exception. He was gorgeous thick dark chocolate. And I was like, oh, okay, and you're saying you're trans? That's not a problem for me. Come on over. Until he was like, yeah, you know, and I have a big, thick, delicious, wet, moist pussy. And it was like, like, oh, you know, and I get it. There's a place for that as well. There are people who that's a thing for them. Now, what I had to come to grips with myself is I don't No, I do not think that vagina is actually disgusting. I don't think that just because somebody has a pussy that it's disgusting. But I realize part of the place that I sort of got that thinking in my early days is from the fact that in the gay community, we're often like, ew, pussy, vagina, ew. Like, and that was a thing, you know? And people, there's the complexity. I'll save the rest for my 1 minute.
Okay. Well, first off, I will admit that I have had a huge crush on her. But getting back to the topic at hand, I can say that I fully agree with them. And in that type of situation, in that type of situation, I would probably go the same route as him sexually. And did you want me to do my sentence?
Not yet. But I will, since you have a little more time, I'll ask you, what do you mean go the same route as him sexually?
All right. So just from what he said, like if he was in that situation with a trans man who didn't have bottom surgery yet, he probably still do his thing.
And you would penetrate that young man?
Yes.
He had such a a relaxed way of putting it. It's like, I'll probably guess penetrate that young man. It's like, okay, I know that's right. All right, I see you. Anyway, let me take my 1 minute right quick. Oh, well, okay. Yeah, and you'll come back with your one sentence. For my 1 minute, I will say, yeah, it's not disgusting, and I've been taught that, and just because that's how people would react in the gay community when I was learning about being homosexual, same gender loving. It's not like somebody took me by the hand and was like, "You're going to be homosexual." No, as I was learning about myself and entering the community, those in the community were the type who were like, "Ew, vagina," you know. But I will say this: I have never actually, and this is fact, actual and factual. I have never actually seen a vagina in real life. I've heard stories. I will say that I am a platinum star gay. And for those who are in the know, you know what I mean. If you're not, look it up. But yes, I am a platinum star gay. Anyway, my 1 minute, I will say, I do love the positive purpose of boxes, so no one feels left out of place. But maybe we can now make the placements without boxes. With complexity?
All
Your
right.
1 minute and one sentence, if you have a 1 minute.
I got both. First off, I didn't understand that what you were saying.
What I was saying about what?
What you were just saying.
My one sentence?
Right before that.
Oh, how I call myself a platinum star gay?
Well,
You,
yeah.
you really want me to explain? So, a gold star gay is somebody who has never had sex with a woman, right? And of course, platinum is in America, it's 500,000 additional copies shipped, and platinum star is somebody who has not only not seen a vagina for sex purposes. I kissed a girl; it was okay. That was it. But not only have I not seen a vagina for sex purposes, I have not. I was I was born by cesarean, and they say if you were born by cesarean, i.e., not coming through the vagina, that means that you really didn't have anything to do with the vagina. Anyway, basic complexity. What's your one sentence, dude? Stop trying to make me do all that.
All right. My what's that 1 minute thing? Really, but life experience In life experience, I've personally, wow, I've personally had that relates to this was a crush I had in the past. I had no idea he was a trans man because he was sexy as hell. Um, but anyway, all right, my one sentence is do the most comfortable thing for you.
Hashtag boredom leading at Coach Nick Love. Hashtag VersTEAv190 On-screen text. Stop letting boredom dictate who you let back in your life.
Boredom will never, ever dictate who I let back in my life. Because if I initially cut someone out of my life, then trust it was for a very, very valid reason. Uh, sorry. All right. I'll also say that I had someone I was romantically involved with years ago, a long time ago. Um, back, I let them back in my life, and we cool now, but we on real speaking terms only. That's it.
So my initial reaction to that post is, I get it, Eureka, right? My connection, I would say, it's not boredom like I just want to toy around with dudes, but Whitney Houston sang it best in a couple of songs when she sang, see, sometimes I'm lonely, but I'm never alone, for the Bible tells me so. Sometimes I'm lonely, okay? And yes, and Whitney asked the question, are you really ready for love, boy? Or is it just a lonely talking again? And it's like, yeah, because sometimes that lonely be talking. And sometimes loneliness can rekindle negative desires. But this fact actually applies to more than just romantic relationships. It can also be the fun friend who got you caught up and disappeared after they and left you high and dry after they got you caught up in some trouble because they were so much fun, and now you're bored and you're like, well, I guess it wasn't that much trouble. And now you want a little Mo excitement. And I love Lil Mo, the artist, by the way. But you want a little Mo excitement. And in spite of the fact that little Mo excitement could equal much Mo trouble, so that's something to consider. And this man's bromance or romance Be sure the lonely is not guiding your wants. Okay? And physician, heal thyself, because I get it. And it's not like I do it all the time by any means, but sometimes that lonely will talk and you'll feel lonely. And other times you acknowledge that you're never alone. Ever alone for anyway, but yes. So, and it's not that you're always in a state of anyway. Yes. So that's what's your one sentence? As I keep disclaimering myself to not seem thirsty and desperate. Like Aaron is just lonely and thirsty and desperate. Anyway, and I just kept talking myself deeper and deeper, and so I was like, Aaron, shut up. Basic complexity. What's your one sentence?
I had someone I was romantically involved with years ago, back in my life, and we cool now, but we are on very rare speaking terms only.
All right. And my one sentence is follow your heart brain combo. Teach them teamwork. And now, are we ready for the timeless tea? Timeless tea. Tea without time. Now, the first question for timeless tea, and this will be like part 5, and we don't write our answers in advance or anything. It's timeless, so I'm going to take the timer off. We're kind of just having a conversation about it. Why would you give a romantic partner a second chance? And why wouldn't you? And I can speak first.
All right.
Why would I give a romantic partner a second chance? And it's like, I know my best friend is very opposed to giving second chances to people. He straight up, I think he's actually even straight up said this to me before. He's like, I don't walk backwards. And it's like, okay, but why would I give somebody a second chance? I believe the children of the future, teach them well and let them lead the way, right? I believe that perhaps naively, I'd like to believe that, it's funny because we don't write our answers to these in advance. So I'm thinking about it as I'm speaking about it, but it's like I was going to say, I believe that people can change. But then I was remembering when I was a kid in school and other kids would be like jerks or whatever. And I'd be like, Mom, Timmy's being a jerk to me. And Mom would be like, kids that are jerks grow up to be adults that are jerks, you know? So in some cases, yeah, people can change. And I believe that is a possibility. But in some cases, people don't change. But why would I give somebody a second chance? If they present something that sounds good and present as if they've actually made those changes and care to have made those changes. Why wouldn't I if those changes are not apparent? Basic complexity?
Okay. Way I see it, that would say one, letting someone back into your life. And I'm specifically speaking on relationships. In that case, it would depend on how or why the relationship ended. Um, it could have been something very mutual and cool. Like, for example, me and my first boyfriend still loving the death, and he knows that we broke up mutually, never anything bad at all. Really, work was getting in the way for both of us. And we were both, wow, we were both teenagers at the time. So we didn't break up over anything bad. And here we are over 20 years later, and we're still good friends. Um, so I know it varies with every person. Um, but I definitely say it depends on why the relationship ended. It could have been something like I said with me, something like just work getting in the way, or could have been something much worse, like they cheated on you and had teen kids with someone. Yeah, that one you can't really walk that back.
I already have something to say, and that's why this is good timeless tea.
Yeah.
But when you mentioned the kid situation, that's that's complex because that's another thing that like it's a condition that would only apply to heterosexuals and heterosexuals who go raw as well because
Good point.
you know that's a thing and it's like you could be heterosexuals that go raw in the vagina in the vaginal cavity,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because for those who go in the anal cavity, male or female, that's not going to produce a kid, most likely. And I sometimes I have to question why would you give that like have in dealing with men as a same gender loving man have your male relations turned around cheated on you with a woman and actually brought forth kids and like apologized for that or something?
No, that has never, ever, ever happened to me. But I know situations like that exist in the world.
Yeah. And in both the hetero and homosexual world, because
Yeah.
I don't want to say because bisexuality is a real thing or polysexuality is a real thing. It is. I don't want to seem like I'm blaming them as much as I'm saying there are people who could be interested in a dude and a woman legitimately and turn
Yeah.
around and impregnate that woman. And I feel that would be such an interesting place to be in. Anyway, one thing that you mentioned as far as your ex, I was like, um, I would say for myself, I've not had any negative breakups that I can really think of. I
Lucky
haven't had
you.
that many. Yeah, no. Like I remember one dude, and he was so sweet, and I that's yet another example of a time that I F things up. But I F things up because I was the reason why doesn't matter. But I remember he invited me over for Thanksgiving dinner. And not Thanksgiving dinner, but some dinner. He was like, "Yeah, I could. I'd like you to come over." I'm like, "Man, okay." And I came over, and he prepared a meal. Like, and this was during the time that we had taken a break from each other. Excuse me, y'all. Sorry, but we had taken a break, and we ate dinner and everything, and I remember we sat out on his porch and it was cold and I didn't have a warm jacket. And he gave me his jacket and wrapped me up in it and him. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is such a man, you know, that because he cared so much about my being warm and the fact that I was like the smaller guy and he was like, anyway, ultimately, that was the same night that we decided to split because I was like, he's 4 years older than me, right? And I was like, I knew that he wanted to get married. And at that time in my life, I was not sure where I stood on the gay marriage thing for myself. I believed that gay marriage should be legal for people, particularly when I hear stories about this woman who went with her domestic partner through civil union, because that's all that we used to be able to do, civil union, with her domestic partner through civil union and their kid to Florida. And while they were in Florida, one of them, one of the wives, hit their head on something and had a brain aneurysm and was in intensive care. And the other wife was outside of intensive care, like, please let me in, please let me and our son in to spend time with my wife. And in Florida, they were like, fuck that shit. You're not officially married. So you no, you cannot go in there to see her. You are just a friend. Well, we were civilly unionized. So all of that to say civil unions did not equal marriage. A civil union does not equal a marriage. And the civil union is not the same as marriage at a courthouse. But a
Right.
marriage is different from a civil union. Anyway, because of the fact that I didn't know where I stood on gay marriage for myself, I ended up saying, okay, let's break up because you're about, I've spoken about him before because this is the like, I've given everything now. But I was like, you're about to be old and I want you to be able to find your husband before you become old. Bear in mind, he was 2 years from 30. And I was like, I want you to be able to find your husband before you become old. Anyway, and I was just talking with an Uber driver about that earlier. Well, not that situation, but just how now I'm on the edge of my 30s, looking into my 40s, and It's kind of like it's the same old thing. Anyway, basic complexity. Did you have anything to say on any of that?
Well, one thing I definitely learned a long time ago, probably in my early to mid 20s, I learned like a lot of people don't get the fact that when you get down to the nitty gritty of it, marriage is nothing but a legal contract. That's pretty much all it is. And it's like when you marry someone, like forget all the grandiose wedding and all that crap. When you marry someone, it becomes you sign a legal document, and that means that actually now, thanks to President Biden, across the country, it has to be accepted wherever you are. Like, if just hypothetically, let's say I get married in Hawaii and then come back to, I don't know, Indiana, and my husband has a medical condition or is in a hospital, yes, I have to be acknowledged as the husband. Whether Indiana has gay marriage or not, that don't matter.
Ooh, I'm sorry. Were you about to say something else?
Oh no, I'm sorry.
Because part of me was like, yeah, like 1 hour 15, that'll be fine. Because I'm about to take us over
Uh,
with this. Because yes, and as much as I got it wrong the week that we talked about it, it is called the Respect for Marriage Act because it is respect,
yeah.
respecting people's marriage, respecting people's
Mm,
love choices, respect. That's why it's called that. Now, when you mention another state potentially having or not having that right, that reminded me of when we were trying to take gay marriage on a state by state basis
yes.
and how much that could have really been if the Supreme Court didn't finally decide to say, you know what, F that, it's legal nationwide. It's not a state decision, it's a federal decision. If they didn't say that, that would be those would be the kind of struggles that people would have. Now that would also make it so perhaps gay couples wouldn't spend their money in certain other states, which
Mm,
could impact the economy for that state. But I would say that that state would deserve that kind of impact if that's what they did. And I remember, and I always shout this out, Maryland is my first favorite state, but my second favorite state is North Carolina. And when they were trying to take it vote by vote, state by state,
mm,
Maryland did pass the gay, nope, the I'm just going to use the umbrella term marriage equality.
all right.
Of course, it had different names in different states, and it was worded differently in different states. It's crazy. But Maryland did pass the Marriage Equality Act, or
Yeah.
or did pass the marriage equality vote by a small margin, but it did pass on the strength of Central Maryland.
Yeah,
Because
of
Central
course.
Maryland said, yes, we want equal marriage. Everywhere else in Maryland said, to slightly different numbers. In some cases, it was like a 40-60 for the counties. And 40% is still relevant, but 60% is the majority. And the other counties were like, no. But because Maryland is such a small state, those counties in central Maryland were enough to make it move in that case, you know? And also, this is why North Carolina is my second favorite state, because North Carolina actually had many more counties vote in favor of the gay marriage bill when it came to that state. But because of the fact that North Carolina is so huge, the red states, or the no states, outnumbered the blue states. The no counties outnumbered the blue counties, yes counties in North Carolina. But North Carolina had more counties vote yes in favor of gay marriage way back then, before the Supreme Court had to teach us that we had to do it. But I'm
And
glad that they did. Huh?
I believe, if I remember correctly, that the Supreme Court made it legal countrywide at that time. In, I think, 2015. I think.
I I think it was 2014. And the reason
Oh,
I'm thinking it was 2014 is because I'm thinking about our friends, Airy Can Productions, um, Larry and Leonard.
mm,
And if I recall, they were married in 2014. And like the significance of it is it was what 10 years after they met in 2004, and then in
mm,
2014, like after they met and they've been dating that whole time, when marriage became legal 10 years later in 2014, they got married, and now they've been together ever since. All of that to say, I think it was 2014. I would ask Google, but the mic's not on, and
oh.
it's cool. Or maybe I could ask Google while you, if you have anything else to say.
Yeah, just that, when you were saying about Maryland, and at the time gay marriage was passed in Maryland, and that was literally only months before it got to the Supreme Court. So at that point, Maryland was gonna pass it anyway, so it didn't matter. Actually, I do remember the vote at the time it was on the ballot, gay marriage, and it's like, yeah, of course.
Central Maryland said yes.
Yes.
Outside of Central Maryland, largely said no. And I was going to say, by the way, you were right. It was 2015, and I have it right here. It was June 2015.
Oh,
Um, June 26th, 2015. So
actually,
I was mistaken.
yes.
But yeah, so that must be, maybe it was the 15th that they got married, and I was thinking of before because I was just confused. Anyway, but yeah, Maryland
But,
did pass it, just barely though,
well,
because those outside, because I remember watching this dude on YouTube who was a Maryland dude. He was heterosexual, not was
mhm.
heterosexual. He's decided to change. No, he met somebody who converted him. Anyway, I'm totally joking. No, he's a heterosexual dude, and I remember him talk. Ooh, okay. And we'll wrap up right after I say this. I remember him talking about the gay marriage bill, and he's heterosexual, but he was, I guess, an ally. I'll say, like he didn't hate gay people like many people do. I'll put it like that. And he was like, "Yeah, Maryland passed it, but barely, just barely passed it." And that's true. Maryland just barely passed it. And like I said, North Carolina, if the state was smaller, now North Carolina has a lot of colleges, and a lot of colleges spread out. And I wonder if Alabama did something like that, how it would, because I was talking with the dude in Uber on the way back here, and he was like, "Yeah, Alabama has a whole lot of HBCUs." I'm like, "All right, Alabama." And the universities in North Carolina carried all of the counties. So every county that had a university in it carried blue for voting in favor of gay marriage. And North Carolina has a lot of universities. And it's so. Anyway, do you have anything else to say, Basic Complexity, before we close this up?
All right, just one final thing I want to tack on. What you were saying about North Carolina having colleges and universities. When it comes to even just say gay marriage, the new younger generation, they are so free spirited, and they support it. They have no problem with it. So they are definitely our allies.
Yes. Things are moving forward in that regard, and that's good. I would like to think that they stay that stay in that direction and progress. Keep in
Right.
progress. Anyway, all right. Anything else, Basic Complexity?
No, I'm good.
All right. This has been week 190, and 90 is cool because you know what? I will speak to this just so randomly. You can say something if you have to. I remember, or if you so desire. I remember, the year 1990 is the year that we turned, what, 8?
7.
7. The year we turned 7. So, we were old enough to remember things like kind of, right? And I remember Nickelodeon and other things like made a big deal about the turn of the decade. Like it's gonna be a brand new decade. Can you feel a brand new decade? Anyway, but yeah, everything was making a big deal about the fact that it was gonna be a brand new decade. And that is something that I remember. Do you remember the big deal being made about the brand new decade?
Actually, I don't remember. But on the flip side, I ain't care nobody.
Well, yeah, we were 6, right? But
Mainly.
still, it would have been on TV. Like, and don't act like you didn't watch TV.
Oh, I'm not saying that.
Yeah. All right. Well, this has been week 190. I'm Aaron Mack. You can find me AARONMCK at VersTEAB.com. That's Aaron Mack. Is it a dot? Aaron dot. I don't think so. No, it's not. Aaron Mack at VersTEAB.com. And you can find VersTEAB all over social media. Hashtag VersTEAV. We're on many social platforms. Just look us up. You can also go to our website, www.VersTEAV.com, and that also has many of our social media outlets in the bar at the top for all of our social media outlets. And VersTEAV.com. Basic complexity. Where can we find you?
Well, basic complexity, and it could definitely be found. You could find me on Twitter, but I really don't use it. I have an account there, but it's kind of pointless to even contact me on that because I probably won't even see it. But I'm also on VersTEAV.com. So that's basic complexity. And think 2 words merged into one. BASICCOMPLEXITY at VersTEAV.com, which is VersTEAV.com.
All right. This has been week 190, social media family. We'll talk to you later. We'll see you next time around. 9:35 going live every single Monday. Check us out. Talk to you later. If you can do the honors, VersTEAV family. Yeah. Yep, right there's the logo. Perfect.
Yeah.
Talk to you later. VersTEAV.peace. Hashtag VersTEAV.com. Stay blessed. Now, let me just make this joke really quickly. It's so funny trying to remember the direction to point in, and it reminds me. South Park is something else. South Park is one of those shows that stayed hilarious through the decades. Still hilarious, just like Simpsons, in my opinion. South Park, one of the characters was walking with a shirt that said "I'm with stupid," and it pointed to the other side, and nobody was standing there. So, because people will wear those "I'm with stupid" shirts, and sometimes there's nobody standing next to them. Anyway, that's hilarious. Let me shut up. All right. Peace. VersTEAV.com. Stay blessed. All right. Have a good night. And we are closing. Losing time.